you been hurt by a narcissist and you still feel off? Do you feel completely drained of your energy, like you gave everything but got very little in return? Have you started to doubt yourself completely, even your best qualities, motivations and intentions? Did you start to feel like you're losing self-esteem, like you're a less of a person, or you had a need to prove yourself constantly, but no matter what you did and no matter how much you tried to make it better, it always turned against you? Then there is a chance that you have been hurt by a narcissist, and this video is going to help you. Many people who come for counseling or therapy often come after they've been exploited by others. And sadly, quite often we find out they have been hurt and exploited by narcissists. So what do I mean when I say narcissists? Actually, there is a personality disorder called narcissistic personality disorder. And prevalence of this disorder in population varies from different studies, from 1 to 15%, on average maybe 7% of the population. But actually, I am going to talk more broadly about the people on a spectrum of narcissistic traits, because even these people vary and they are not the same. So we are going to talk about how it looks, what they do to you, what effect it has on you, and how to help yourself heal out of that. Because sadly, this disorder is the one that the person who has it doesn't feel it that much, as the other people around are suffering from the behavior of that person. So when we talk about narcissism, as it is in the diagnostic module, there are several traits that are typical for narcissist personality. The first one, which you always hear, is this grandiosity, or this special sense of self, this huge ego, the feeling they are somehow more important than everybody else, more special, better than everybody else. Their opinion matters more, and everything about them is actually somehow superior to everybody else. But there is also the covert or vulnerable type of narcissist, which doesn't have this grandiosity. Actually, on the contrary, can feel very vulnerable, very low self-esteem, doubting himself, feeling depressed all the time, broken, and it's more of an imploded personality. But they also have symptoms of the manipulation, of lack of empathy, and the other of the entitlement, the other symptoms of narcissist personality. So it doesn't have to be this a typical macho. It can also be a kind of a broken, more of a victimhood type of a person. So, as I said, first is this grandiosity. Second one is entitlement. This belief that they are entitled for some special treatment, special position, special power, influence, and they also gravitate to the positions of special power and influence. And if they are capable and have a good IQ, good capacities, they often become very successful. They become successful doctors, successful CEOs of companies, politicians, spiritual leaders, or army, because obviously they gravitate to the positions of power, status and influence, because this supplies their need for the importance which they don't have really deeply inside. And the last one, and very important one, why people actually come hurt by narcissists, is that they lack empathy. Some lack it completely, some may have it on certain spectrum, but generally this lack of true, genuine empathy, and therefore exploiting others, crossing their boundaries, abusing them, disregarding their emotions, manipulating them for their own benefit. These are the typical behaviors of narcissists which lead to the people close to them being abused and hurt. But they don't feel the problem, and that's why most of narcissists never search for help, never come to counseling. They come after maybe years and years or decades of the circles happening again and again, when they lose the close ones, when they lose positions, when something breaks in their life and the consequences harm them. That's when they maybe start to open up for the possibility there might be something wrong with them. But almost always they will say everybody else has a problem, not them. So this is a bit tricky about this disorder, that unlike other disorders, when people suffer themselves, this is the one when usually the person doesn't, at least consciously doesn't feel he is suffering, but everybody around him is suffering. So how does it look when you start this relationship with narcissist? And it can be any type. It can be work relation, it can be a boss, it can be your partner, it can be even your parent. So it can be different types of friend. So usually in the beginning, the person is very charming, very charismatic. They show you their best. They show you their best qualities. They also treat you in an amazing way. They lift you up high. They praise you. They give you these great experiences, take you on adventures or whatever. Or if it's a boss, they promise you an amazing job and they say how you are the best for the work and they cannot find a person like you ever. And you feel special somehow maybe or like flattered that wow, and it's promising, it's beautiful. So they win you over, and after they know they have you, they start to gradually put you down. So it's almost like they lift you up so high, and then the higher you are lifted up, the greater the fall will be. And that is a shock. That is something that you haven't expected. And it's really hard to see, like, how come this person was so good, so nice, so real, and suddenly they are like this. This is like switching, and it's very hard for many people to actually navigate these type of relationships and find out what happened and what's wrong, and actually discover that the person might be on the spectrum of narcissism. So other things are, like I said, they abuse you, they manipulate a lot. They may show some empathy or sympathy in terms of understanding maybe what you're feeling or what you might need, but usually just to get you and to get what's your soft part, what is your need, in sense how they can manipulate you and benefit of you. So very rarely it is genuine, although, as I said, they can be on spectrum, and there's some of them might be very evil, very psychopathic with absolutely no empathy, whilst others on the spectrum might be, especially the vulnerable ones, might have even a genuine empathy time to time, or in certain situations when they feel secure and not anxious, they can have some genuine empathy. But then when they are triggered, when there is something that triggers the deep-seated insecurity, they will lash out and they will manipulate, they will switch, and you will see this person who is like having no regard to your needs, no regard to your preferences, interests, to your true personality, to who you are, to care about you, really you, for you, with no gain, no extra agenda. So you start to feel very used, very drained. And there can be also sometimes physical harm, added aggression. Also, they may have additional comorbidities. It means other sicknesses like anxiety disorder, like an antisocial aggressive personality, or some mood swings or depressions, as well as substance abuse. There's loads of addictions connected to narcissists. There's high prevalence of addictions among narcissists. For instance, alcoholism or functional alcoholism is one of very frequent. If you remember my previous video where I was talking about the value of a person, this is exactly what narcissists don't have. Very deep inside, they have this deep-seated insecurity about them. These people feel so empty and so broken inside that they learned to hide it, to build a crust, to build a shell around and protect it so strongly that they would stop feeling it and stop admitting it. So don't expect them to admit it in front of themselves or in front of you, because it's usually very deeply pushed down, and around it it's built this extra identity, is this huge ego, this grandiose ego. Or in case of a vulnerable narcissist, it may be that actually they vulnerably open up and they let you see for a while how broken they are, but then they will still lash it out on you, and you will be the one taking the consequences. They will start blaming you for everything. They will manipulate you. Whatever you did will be turned against you. They will gaslight you, which means that they will kind of give you this double information, like, you know that this happened, but no, it didn't happen. It's not real. You didn't know. They will make you even doubt the head on your own neck. That kind of a thing, strong manipulation, putting down, mood swings, oftentimes aggression, especially when it's in men. So this can be very destructive emotionally and mentally to be close to these people for a long time. As I mentioned, most of the time it's typical in men, although also women can be narcissists, but women are usually diagnosed with the similar personality disorder in the same cluster of disorders with the borderline personality or histrionic personality, whilst men usually tend to be diagnosed with narcissism and antisocial personality disorder, and they are all in the same cluster because they share lots of similarities. But it doesn't have to be only men, of course. Sometimes some clients come and their mothers were very narcissistic, and it's really very hurtful and abusive for them. A very sinister type of abuse is from the manipulation, emotional blackmail, putting all the blame on you, almost like whatever you try to point out that is wrong with them or they are hurting you, they would twist it and turn it against you, so you would feel like you are the one to be blamed, you are the dysfunctional one, you have the problem. They would use some of your vulnerabilities or of your real mistakes, because we all make mistakes, and they would amplify them and make you feel like you are the terrible person. So actually they try to deflect everything that would come against them. They turn it back so they don't have to deal with it, because it's so hard for them to accept any criticism, to accept any feedback, to actually see that there might be something deeply, painfully wrong with them. They don't have power almost or courage to look inside at that deeply seated insecurity, which is hidden under the layers and the crust that is their outer ego. So why are these people like that? So you can look at these people that they are also victims of some type of abuse and bad treatment in the childhood. Usually they have been disvalidated, disregarded as children, in combination with praise for the behavior that was desired and wanted of them. So on one hand, their true self, their true emotions were disregarded, disvalidated, neglected, abused, but at the same time they were lifted up and praised for some performance, for some status, for something where they made the parent feel good about them. And of course, not everybody who experiences this behavior becomes narcissist, because we are different and we have different dispositions. So also there is some genetic or inner disposition of the personality to actually be hurt in this way and to twist in this way. And then, as every person, we are a combination of our choices, our values, and everything else. So, as I said, this is a spectrum, but now we are talking about some typical similarities. And why? Because they deeply feel unworthy, empty, not valuable. And it's painful and scary. So they buried this feeling down and created this special crust. I often give my clients this example of the iceberg lettuce, that you have this beautiful vegetable with this shiny, crusty, green, fresh, crispy, smelly, and you want to buy it because it's the very, very beautifully looking, charming lettuce. And then you take it and you open it up and you find out that the whole heart is missing, that deeply inside it's empty. And this is somehow like a narcissist feels inside, but oftentimes, or most of the times, they wouldn't admit it. Not only to you, but to themselves. Because once they start feeling subconsciously this feeling, immediately they are trying to find the supply of feeling superior, the supply by putting you down, the supply by manipulating everything around so that they feel better. So they don't have to confront that deep insecurity. But we will talk about it at the end, that I believe nobody is lost, and if a person wants to, they can heal. But sadly, oftentimes these people don't want to or don't want to look at that. But the point of this video is not now to talk to narcissists, but to talk to the people who are hurt by them. And the point is not to condemn them as people, although you have to condemn the behavior that they are doing to you, and you have to start seeing it. The point is actually to help you see what's happening to you and to stop expecting things that are not going to happen, and to help you heal of all those things that they put on you and you accept it somehow inside of you and made it your own failure. So some example might be that you were hired to work, a new place, and this boss promised you heavens in this position, how they need you, how important you are for them, how absolutely irreplaceable you are, and they promised you great stuff, and at the end, when you finally got in and committed, they started to attack you, to drain your energy. You lost your personal life. You were working long hours, and it was never enough. And whenever you try to express maybe your need, or you're tired or sick or something happens to you, they would just disregard you and make you look like you are a weakling, or you are a person who unfaithful one, or they thought they can trust you, and you're just a failure and stuff like that. And they would say it in a oftentimes very indirect and sneaky ways, very manipulative ways, so it's often hard to recognize in the first time. Another case is partners or marriage partners. Again, very typical scenario, and after some time you start to realize that this person is not what he was promising to be or what it looked like to be, and it's a shock, and often people can't believe it for a long time, because you always work and try to make it better as it was in the beginning, when it was the charming love bombing phase, and you think that this person's gonna come back somehow, but they don't, and you try and exhaust all yourself, and still you are the one to be blamed for not being happy and for not having a good relationship with them. It can be a friend, when it's always about that friend. Everything you do for them, you are there for them, and you're circling around them, but when you need them, they suddenly disregard you. They are not there to help you, and even again they can blame you for something like, how can you expect this of me, or what. And the worst scenario is when a narcissist is your parent, or in some terrible cases even both of them, although usually narcissists gravitate to empaths and try to find the partners who are very soft, who have soft boundaries, who have great empathy and huge trust, and who are very caring and serving, and so they can actually take a lot from them, and also ensure that these people will not leave so easily, because empaths have a lot of time problem with keeping boundaries or recognizing when somebody is really abusive, and they have natural tendency to help the people and to help them heal, because they see that there is a problem that can be healed. But sadly, narcissist oftentimes doesn't want that problem to be healed, because they don't want to admit it, and you cannot help a person who doesn't have a problem, or they don't think they have a problem. So if your parent was a narcissist as a child, you felt like you didn't matter. You were oftentimes blamed, abused, verbally abused, maybe physically abused, disregarded as a person. When you had a need, or your emotional need, it was not met. It was met with absolute ignoring, or mocking, or laughing at your weakness, or all kinds of scorning, and disregarding and disvalidating. Oh, you cannot feel this way, or you have no right to feel this way, or you are just a sensitive, you are a weakling, you are this, you are that, and you could not be who you are. Parent was not interested in who you really are. They were interested in how you make them feel, how you make them look. If you perform well, if you had good marks in school, if you were great in this sport or great in that, maybe you made them look well, they were happy, they praised you, they were like, okay, fine, this is making me look good, me feel good. But if it was just about you, there was nothing in that for them. And this is extremely hurtful for a child. And the child has no capacity to understand why the parent doesn't like me, why the parent doesn't love me, why don't I matter. And usually the child internalize these lies about themselves and develop a lot of problems. In some cases it can develop narcissism too, as I said, or the child can develop other anxiety disorders, other personality disorders, mental problems, depressions, low self-esteem, and lots of other problems. So if this is your case, you need to start a journey of healing, and as every journey starts with admitting the truth, admitting the reality of a problem, which is it's sometimes the hardest part, to admit what really happened, to even admit that the person we loved and admired so much can be actually the person with such a double face, or such a dark side of the moon, and the dark side really hurts you badly. And as I said, the purpose of this video is not to condemn the people, but we need to see what they did, and we need to see what the behavior did to us and what lies we accepted in order to be free, and in order even to forgive them and let them go, and not expect of them what they cannot give us or they don't want to give us at the moment. So in this video we covered some basics of how narcissistic personality or narcissistic spectrum looks like and what it does to you in different scenarios. And in another video we are going to talk about some tips, some advice, some principles that can help you heal if you have been hurt by narcissists, or even deal with them if you have to or need to, or for some reason want to still stay in relationships with them. Thank you for watching this video. Share with whoever needs that, and definitely watch a second one because this video wouldn't be complete with that second part.